Well, this is incredible, guys. I have been given access to the field. I decided to chance it, come a day early, see if I can get some drone shots. The guy who's in charge of making the field said, hey, would you send me some of the drone shots? I said, yeah. And then I decided to hang around and start filming a little bit more. And they told me it was cool. They said, hey, we're just setting up today. You can do whatever you want. Stay as long as you need. And so look at this, man. This is the Sandlot right here. I have entered childhood.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Welcome back, moviegoers, to another edition of Going to the Movies. Today's a special day because I have been getting countless requests over the last few months to do locations from the Sandlot. So we're in Salt Lake City today. We're gonna be hitting all the spots. Let's go ahead and get into it. First, I want to give you the layout of everything because I don't think a lot of people realize this, but quite a bit of the Sandlot scenes were built for the movie. And that plus the passage of time makes it a little tricky to perceive the orientation of everything. So first, I want you to look at where I came in from. For the life of me, I can't remember or find where I read this, but I know the production built a fence that was parallel to the actual fences to create an alley here, and it's visible in this shot from the end of the movie. In the first scene featuring the Sandlot, when Smalls embarrasses himself, you can see him running away through an opening in that fence in left field, and there are two houses and a shed that you can still line up. The row of houses past the outfield, running parallel to the second baseline, was the most disappointing for me. When I finally got to see it and did some reading, I realized fake house, real tree but fake leaves and only temporarily placed here. And Mr. Myrtle's house, sadly also fake. It's unfortunate, as I was really hoping to do some matchups of these shots, but being that this is private property and nobody's really ever back here, some small remnants of the set can still be found. We're going to come back and break down more of that later though. Lastly, let's look at the fence running along the first baseline. You can see a couple real houses in the background during the movie shots, but they were difficult for me to place because the trees have grown up a ton, and this is where the anniversary event placed the bathrooms and vendors and other things, which wasn't really a big deal. The movie doesn't spend a lot of time looking in this direction. One thing I do want to point out here, though, is this shot from the end of the movie. You can see exactly where the production-built fence meets the real fence due to this red house in the background, which is still standing today and was only recently painted a different color. So from an aerial perspective, the fence that created the alley was right here, and the fence that they built to separate the Sandlot from the fake houses and treehouse ran right about here. Okay, now we understand the layout of the Sandlot, but this was not the first field shown in the movie. This is the first baseball field shown in the movie. Nibley Park School, we're in the back corner. It is no longer a baseball field right here, just a regular field in the corner of a playground area, some basketball courts right behind the camera, as well as a new school building that wasn't there in 1992 or 1993 whenever they filmed it. So the building was actually a little bit farther away than it is now. They moved it from here to right here. The building got a lot larger, but by some miracle, this corner, this grassy area, stayed exactly the same, other than all of the baseball bases, the diamond, and the backstop being gone. There are still some things we can match up. Next up is Smalls' neighborhood, and you gotta love when every house in the movie is in the same spot. We got a 3-for-1 here. So right here is Benny's house. This is where Porter lives, and Smalls lives in this house. My favorite scenes filmed here when Benny and Smalls are first kind of meeting each other, and I think everyone's been a Smalls at some point in their life. You're the new kid in a situation, so it makes you really appreciate how awesome Benny is. He sees him struggling to fit in, so he invites him out to play baseball at the Sandlot. He gives him a cooler hat and a better baseball glove, and he just kind of takes him under his wing, not really caring what the other kids think. According to IMDb, the director of The Sandlot had Tom Guiry and Mike Vitar, who play Smalls and Benny, get together well before the other kids to rehearse the movie, and I think that helped them build a bond and a chemistry that does show up on screen. They also filmed the 4th of July scene here, and I'm trying to color grade it to help you picture it a little bit better, but it's also the only scene where you get a glimpse of the front of Porter's house, so here's that matchup. And last thing I wanted to see while I was here was whether or not they filmed the scene with Smalls and his stepdad playing catch in the backyard. Of course, I can only get the overhead view, but from here, I can't really say yes or no. At the 30th anniversary panel, writer-director David Mickey Evans mentioned the interiors of Smalls' house were filmed at another place down the street, so I guess it's possible they could have preferred that backyard and shot it there. I can't really say for sure. So of course we know Sandlot was filmed in and around Salt Lake City. However, it was standing in for the San Fernando Valley in California, and you can tell by looking out over here, it's very similar to that. I believe the reason they used it in place of San Fernando is because there were a lot of houses and other structures that looked more like the early 1960s. Throughout the movie, to transition to different scenes, they will show a mountain range out over Salt Lake City, and it is this one right here. I'm not sure exactly where they took their shots from, so this is just showing you the mountain range. But how cool is that? This is awesome. This is my second time coming back here to the back parking lot. The last time I was here, it was full, so I decided to try again. It's Sunday morning, and there's only this van here. So I think we can match some shots up better now. Let's go ahead and do that. This is one of the coolest locations from the movie because back here is where we're really introduced to all the characters, including Squints, who is now immortalized on the wall there, where the Coca-Cola ad used to be. And this is actually the back of the drugstore, which is seen multiple times in the movie. I noticed while watching there was a triangular Vincent drug sign back here that's now gone, but you can still see the metal that held it up. Now let's head over to the front of the building where some of the signage actually is still there. So the first time we see this location in the movie is when Smalls runs to the Sandlot for the first time. Now that big Vincent drug sign is now located in a corporate office of a mortgage loan company, but this one is still here and there's still some paint on the window, and that's crazy because this place has been closed for over 20 years. As far as I can tell, it's been sitting vacant the whole time, so it's pretty amazing that stuff is still there. Here's what the inside looks like now. I know they don't show it in the movie, but see, maybe they're turning it into something at this point. You can see there's an opening in the ceiling. Turns out they are renovating it, and who knows if they're going to keep the sign up. So it's probably a good time to visit if you're a Sandlot fan. By the way, it's in Halloween 4, Halloween 5, Stephen King's The Stand miniseries, and Touched by an Angel. So if you're a fan of any of those, make sure you go and check it out while you can. Another scene where we see the front of the drugstore is when the guys go and purchase a new baseball, which ends up being the one Benny busts the guts out of. But the most memorable scene in front of the store is when Squints is perving a dish, the magic moment when we see Wendy Peppercorn for the first time. After that, they head back to the Sandlot, and we're going to do the same. This is the angle where Squints and Yaya return. Right here is a replica dugout put here for the event. It's about in the right spot. This is where they had the hottest day of the summer. This is the scene where they decide to go to the pool because Benny's the only one that wants to play. And there's a line in this scene. There's so many great lines in the movie, but one of my lines that I always still use to this day is, "I'm baking like a toasted cheeser," which I currently am. And Ham was too in the scene, so they decided to go see some pool honeys. So let's go to the pool. This is the Lauren Farr Community Pool, and this is where obviously the pool scene happened. Squints tricks Wendy Peppercorn into kissing him, and I'm actually sitting right on the trail where they run around and he looks at her through the fence. Chauncey Leopardi, the kid that played Squints, I think he was kind of nervous, a little anxious to film this scene, so he kept asking the director every day, when are we shooting that scene? When are we shooting the kissing scene? So when they finally got to it, the director said, absolutely no tongue, Chauncey. The Lauren Farr Community Pool is located up in Ogden, Utah, which makes it the furthest north of all the spots. It's about 40 minutes from the Sandlot, and the drive getting here is beautiful. Other than the water slide area, they seem to keep it classic here. It's 30 years later, and this spot is like stepping right into the movie. Another interesting thing about the scene is you can see the actors shivering now. It was like over 100 degrees some of the shooting days, but on this particular day, of course, when they were swimming, it was in the 50s. I always assumed when I was watching it as a kid, it was just because the pool water was really cold. But no, apparently that day it was just really, really cold. Couple more things here. This building is the concession stand, and I don't think I ever really noticed it watching the movie before, but it does show up a couple times in the background. I didn't match up any of those screenshots because a couple of them are taken from inside the pool, and the trees and umbrellas obscure it from those perspectives now anyways, but still wanted to show you the building. This is the area beside the pool where they were all crowded around Squints after Wendy has pulled him from the water, and they all find out he didn't actually need CPR. It was all a trick. You'll see to the right that, like most public pools these days, at some point they remove the diving board, and in the scene, Wendy grabs Squints, drags him around this corner, and kicks them all out, and the visual is hilarious. Squints is just flailing around as she's dragging him. The other guys following him. They're all going crazy. It makes me laugh every time. Before we head out to the next stop, let's look at some of the sights from the 30th anniversary event back here at the Sandlot. This was held Saturday, August 5th, 2023, and it seems like they're going to keep doing these every 5 years. We were given a commemorative baseball, which I chose to be my one item for autographs, and most of the main cast was there signing. I also got pictures with Squints, Yeah, Hammond and Nunez, Timmy and Tommy, and Bertram. Smalls and Benny, sadly, we're not there. Benny never goes to the events, and Smalls must have had something going on. But luckily, he came to Nashville a few weeks later for a sports memorabilia show, and I was able to get him to sign the baseball there. In addition to the main cast, there was David Mickey Evans, writer-director, also narrator, and the guy who played Squints' granddad. A couple hours later, and the crowd began filling in as the cast had a panel discussion on stage. I then took a few minutes to go check out the merch, and then settled in for the screening. The event was pretty cool. Everyone that wanted autographs spent pretty much the entire thing standing in line, though, and that included myself. They decided to do individual lines for some reason. For each cast member, they placed them all around the field at whatever position they played in the movie, so the lines were kind of weaving around each other, and they were taking forever. If I were to recommend anything to the organizers for the next one, it would be to do one autograph line with the cast all at one table. You just go down the line, you get them all real quick. I feel like that would have saved so much time, giving people a chance to explore a little bit more and just, enjoy the rest of the day, not worry about standing around. Because I got there at 2 o'clock. That's when it was supposed to start. I think we got on the field around 2:45, 2:50. Then I got the last signature at 7:26 p.m. So that's just under 5.5 hours of standing in line. And I got very lucky to get all 7 signatures because that was right when the cast left to do the Q&A panel. I don't want to keep laying on the complaints, but the screening also had quite a bit of technical difficulties. They eventually got it going, though. I don't think the extra $125 VIP pass that had to be purchased in addition to the regular tickets were worth it. I could overhear a lot of people in the various lines that I was in complaining about being ripped off because there were quite a few VIP perks that were listed by news outlets and the Eventbrite page that just did not happen. But I also heard another guy in line say, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You can't let it get you down. I think he's right. It is once in a lifetime, or at least once every 5 years. Now, if you come and it's not an anniversary year and the Sandlot's closed off, a local did tell me about this place you can go check out behind an antique shop where they've put together a shrine to the movie using the backstop from a previous anniversary event and the dugouts from the 25th and 20th anniversaries. They've got some cool stuff to check out on the inside of the shop too, and it's only a 2-minute drive from the real Sandlot, so it's worth stopping by. Now let's rewind back to when there were no crowds here and break down the insult battle. After they have a night game during the 4th of July fireworks, they dissolve into the next day, and this is when we're introduced to the Little League kids, the arch rivals of the Sandlot kids, and they come riding in on their bicycles from left field, and man, there are some really awesome matchups to get from this scene. The Little League team, called the Tigers, are led by Phillips, and in real life his name is Will Horniff. He was supposed to be the pitcher for his team, but he was so bad at throwing the ball, they swapped in another kid to do that for the scene at their field. If you're curious, he now lives in New Jersey teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Although he didn't get to pitch in the movie, he did get to lead his team in the insult battle against Ham and the Sandlot kids, but Ham dropped the ultimate insult for a baseball-playing kid at the time.
You play ball like a girl!
So they decide to settle it on the baseball field. Welcome to Riverside Baseball Field, one of 3 baseball fields in the movie, and this is where the Little Leaguers' home field was. Right there's home plate. That's where Ham was catching the ball, getting into the heads of the mean kids and causing them to strike out. We're gonna look around here. We're right next to the airport, so gonna hopefully not have any issues with noise, but I'll show you a lot of cool things that you can still see here. First, look out beyond right field and you'll see 2 what I thought were houses, but they're really the second floors of apartment buildings. And the lens they used in the movie makes it look closer, but there's a road, a river, and a whole nother baseball field in between them and the field we're on. The building on the left got a new style of roof at some point, but they are both the same buildings. Looking out beyond left field, you can see the old Backman Elementary building, which was torn down and replaced in 2003. It's an interesting little piece of Salt Lake City history that the Sandlot captured not once, but twice. Their Board of Education rebuilt a bunch of schools in the early 2000s under a $136 million bond that included Backman Elementary here and Nibley Park, the school in the background of the other baseball field we visited. I think the best shot to recreate from this scene is one that points at the baseball field, and it is when Benny hits the home run at the end of the sequence, and the Sandlot crew has beaten the Tigers. And now it's time to go celebrate. Welcome to Robinson Park. This is where the boys come to celebrate after their victory, and you won't recognize it from the movie because that scene takes place at night, and this park was filled with carnival rides. That's right, this is the scene where they throw up all over everyone. So let's go break it down. The guys came right up this sidewalk right here to buy their tickets, and the ticket booth was right behind me. There was a tree next to the ticket booth, which is not there anymore, obviously, but it was there as late as 2019, and it's easy to match it up. It took me forever to find a tree to match up, but that was the one right there. And it was just across from that one, which means that is the tree, excuse me, this one here is the tree that was right next to the Trabant ride when they run up the stairs. It took me forever to place where the ride was located because I figured it would be in the grass, but once I figured out which tree it was next to, I knew it was in the road. And I didn't catch this until later, but in this screenshot, the whole street is visible, which they shut down for the carnival. And that carnival was real, by the way. It was the City of Fun Carnival, which is part of American Fork Steel Days Festival that they still hold to this day, though this park is no longer used for the carnival. This 1992 article from the American Fork Citizen tells us that to help out the film crew, they set up the rides early so they could shoot this scene. So it is Sunday morning, and there are a ton of people going into this building. So I'm going to assume that it's a church, and this church is visible in the shot. So very quickly, the tilt-a-whirl, it's not a tilt-a-whirl, it's a Trabant, but it goes up, it tilts, and you see this door and these columns under it for just a split second. Not a lot to show you, but I definitely wanted to stop here. This is my mom's favorite scene. I hated this scene when I was a kid. I thought it was disgusting, but my mom loves it. It makes her crack up, so had to come visit, of course. Oh wait, there is one more thing to show you, actually. Last thing is these walls here on either side of this set of stairs is visible in an overhead shot looking down at the spinning ride. You can see these just barely in the background. All right, let's head back to the Sandlot. This is around the time Benny busts the guts out of a baseball, and here's an attempt at a matchup where the only thing you can still see really is the telephone pole on the left side. There was no money to get another ball, so Smalls, wanting to be the hero, grabs the Babe Ruth ball from his stepdad's office, and then he accidentally hits it over the fence into Mr. Myrtle's yard. And I talked about this earlier, but let's cover a little more information about the back fence. As previously mentioned, that fence and pretty much everything behind it was built for the movie. You know Mr. Myrtle's house, but did you know this house on the left belongs to Timmy and Tommy? They never actually mention it in the movie, but I discovered that while researching for this video. I thought I remembered the treehouse being in the Sandlot, but it's actually in their backyard, and that's where they all are when they're coming up with all the different ways to get the ball back. That tree was real, and they were lucky to find it. The production designer was driving around, and he saw a guy about to chop it down in his yard, but he stopped him and asked if he could have it, and it was so big that when they transported it, they had to take all the power lines down. They cemented it into the ground and stapled fake leaves all over it. And during the anniversary event, it was mentioned that you can still find the fake leaves laying around in the dirt. So when I went back the next day, I looked for one and found this after just about a minute. I mean, this could be any fake leaf off a fake plant or something. Maybe they scattered some out here for fans, I don't know. But compared to some of the screenshots, it does appear to be the same shaped leaf. Getting back to the story, Benny hops Mr. Myrtle's fence in a fresh pair of PF Flyers. The beast breaks the chain and the chase begins. Right behind me is the Harold B. Lee Hall, which is where the gym was, where they filmed all the people watching The Wolfman. I think this is a rec center for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's a mouthful. So after the beast chased Benny out of the Sandlot, we see him running through an alley, and this is the main part of that alley. He runs in this way, jumps over this wall. That's the alley I was just in, and here's the door they run into. Let's see if it's unlocked. It is not. Sadly, I could not get into the Wolfman gym. But the rest of the kids aren't far behind the chase, and you see them run into the alley from 500 South Street. They see Hercules in full pursuit, and they continue to follow, all the way to the Founders Day picnic. This is Liberty Park, and this is about 3.5 miles away from the alleyway. So Benny got about a 5K in before he got all the way down to this park. And I'm gonna show you some things. There's a mountain range in the back, and then there's a tree line. The shape of that with the sky, you can still match up to behind Benny, behind the dog when they're running across the tables. Now these sidewalks weren't here at the time, I don't think, but this is right in the center of Liberty Park. It's shaped like a giant rectangle, and this cuts right through it vertically. And this is sort of the northern half of it, the top half. Man, it is so hot out here. I really am tempted to go down this water slide, but I don't have a change of clothes right now, so I'm not gonna do that. I gotta get on a plane in a few hours. But this is about where the kid was standing, because don't forget, during Benny's chase with the beast, they come back to the pool location, and this is where the little kid says, "Mom, look, a dog." And you can see the mountain range in the background to the right. You can also see a couple more shots right outside the pool's entrance, just before the gang runs back to the Sandlot, where the chase concludes. We use the anniversary backstop to give us a little bit of an idea of where Benny runs back to the field, and we all know how the Sandlot ends. I don't have to explain the ending because I know you're all Sandlot diehards, and because of that, I know you all caught a mistake I made earlier when I said Nibley Park was the first baseball field shown in the movie. You thought I was going to miss this one. Well, they bookend the movie with scenes from Dodger Stadium, and luckily I was here last summer, so I had some drone shots that I can use here. Being that it's an MLB stadium, it's gone through a bunch of renovations since the movie was filmed, but it still looks pretty similar. It's also kind of a tough place to film. They don't like you roaming around the parking lots here, and apparently the production had a tough time getting approval to film here as well. But luckily, the cinematographer knew Tommy Lasorda, legendary team manager for the Dodgers, and he made it happen. The actor playing the older version of Benny passed away in 2008, and he was the real-life older brother of Mike Vitar, who plays Benny for the majority of the movie. All right, guys, that's going to do it for all the Sandlot locations. Thanks for coming along for the journey. I had an amazing time being in Salt Lake City for the first time. I think if you're ever considering coming out here, do it. It is beautiful. A little city nestled with all the mountains all around. And make sure, before you come visit, to watch some more videos. I got one right here for you, as well as a playlist of all of our filming location videos, and we will catch you in the next one.